Jade LaForte. I'm from Sacramento, California, and I am majoring in communications.
My name is Devin Martinez. I'm majoring in digital filmmaking and minoring in creative writing.
Hi, I'm Hannah Held. I'm studying digital filmmaking, and I'm from Colorado.
My name is Jenna Frenzel, and I'm from Frederick, Colorado, and I'm a communications major with the media studies route.
My name is Jessie Molitor. I'm from Colorado, and I am a film major.
Hi, I'm Daniel Krazat. I'm from New Mexico. I'm a communication major.
My name is Logan Kemmer. I'm from Parker, Colorado, and I study sports communication.
My name is Haley Stoddard, and I'm kind of from all over. I've moved a lot of times, but the closest thing to a hometown is a little town in California, and I'm studying communications.
My name is Faith Parker. I'm from Colorado Springs, and I'm studying film.
For me, the toughest part about the pandemic was the fact that I live with my grandparents, so I was very kind of sectioned off from society just because I was more worried about their safety than I was mine.
During the pandemic, I lost my job, and I love being around people and just communicating with them. So during that time, it just put me at such a disadvantage.
I lost my job. I worked at a different massage place than what I'm working right now. I'm working at a new massage studio.
It's been the longest I've been in the country in about 10, 15 years. So getting used to that has been a little difficult.
The most difficult part due to the pandemic was being pregnant and having to make sure to not get COVID during that time because it would be really risky. And I think that was the most difficult part of the pandemic, was trying to avoid COVID at all costs.
Toughest part was probably the first 5 months. My dad has a very important job, and so I stayed at home. I was in quarantine for a long time, and because of our school schedule and his work schedule, it was really difficult. We would see each other maybe about an hour a day. So it really was like I was in isolation. I was alone in my basement all by myself, so it was very difficult.
When the pandemic started, I found myself, like a lot of other people, with some unexpected free time. And that can lead to a lot of anxiety, that can lead to feelings of isolation. I wasn't really super sure what to do with it.
I turned to just sort of distractions primarily, or at least at first.
I kind of was lost for a little bit, and it was hard kind of looking forward to it was just hard to stay optimistic.
I can do too much because I was pregnant, so my activities were limited already, and then the pandemic obviously was going on during the time, so it limited that even more, so I just mainly stayed at home or came to school.
The pandemic definitely changed my perspective on joy because most of the things that normally bring you joy are suddenly taken away. Being able to get together with family, being able to get together with friends, even being able to interact in your community, you have to find different ways to experience joy. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but you have to find different avenues because your old ones aren't available anymore.
I think what it did for me is it just taught me to appreciate more things. I just learned how to cope better when things are tough.
So then I was just kind of looking for something to do that would make me stop thinking so much. So that's where I just picked up video games. It was productive, and there was a solution, unlike a lot of exterior problems where they're just so big that you can't find a solution. So it was nice being able to actually affect and explore a different world.
I, as I feel like everyone else did, became a plant mom during the pandemic. I got one, and then all of a sudden I had 10. I just really love them, and I thought that I'd be the person to kill them all, but I don't, shockingly. So I think the pandemic gave me time to be able to take care of them.
So on the weekends, my dad and I and my mom made it apparent we would sit in the living room and we would just binge watch TV shows, or we would binge watch movies. And one of our favorite things to do is analyze movies. So I'm a filmmaker, and my dad is very supportive of it. And so it's just something that we ended up bonding on. And we've done it for years now, but it really happened a lot because we just amped up our ability to watch movies during the pandemic.
So for me, it was basketball and sports in general. During the time, I know that the NBA, they canceled their season or stopped it, so not being able to watch it was tough. So I had to just go out and go play it. So I would just go to like a local park and play over there. I'm able to just go out there and just focus on just playing basketball and shooting the ball, and it clears my mind. I don't have to focus on anything but just my fundamentals during that time.
I've been gone most of the time or working most of my life, so it's been nice to kind of tone that down too. On the other side, I've been able to sit here and hang out, and I spent a whole day working on the printers and not really notice it went by, so it's very consuming. I don't watch TV or anything, so it helps. It allows me to be around people, right, and focus on something, and we have a common goal and project to work on, so it's being together without sitting face to face and talking to someone.
It definitely took a toll on my mental health, so that's why I kind of turned to dogs for it, because I feel like dogs give you that serotonin that you kind of need to live with. As of right now, I have 7, so we just got a new puppy and I'm really happy.
It was my writing in general, just like trying to write for the first time. I've done journalistic writing, I just have never done creative writing. That's something I always wanted to do, and I was able to get the confidence to go actually do it. I showed people some of my writing and they were like, oh, it's good. Of course it could get better, but continue to practice. So that's what really brought me my joy, was just like, oh, I could actually do something that I've always wanted to do.
I've always loved writing since I was a child. I've been writing poetry since like the 2nd grade. So one day I sort of took a chance and sent something to the community college little website that they have, and a couple of my poems got accepted. And I was super excited, and that gave me a little boost of confidence, saying, okay, maybe I could submit another one. Maybe I could submit another one. So I started submitting things that I had kept on my laptop for 10 years, and I started writing again, and I started editing again, and I started really spending a lot of time just delving into the craft of poetry.
I think my experience would be different from everyone else's because I didn't feel isolated since I was pregnant. I always had my friend with me. I would always tell people, oh, my friend's in there, and I never felt alone. So I think that's the positive that came out of being pregnant during the pandemic.
It ended up being a huge source of joy because I ended up finding a lot of success with that. Over 1 year, I was able to be published 25 times in different magazines and journals and online publications. And it came with a lot of rejection as well, but the publications kept coming. And so it gave me strength to keep doing it. And that's something I probably wouldn't have done if the pandemic hadn't given me the extra time.
I'm able to just go out, and during that time, nobody's at the park, nobody's out there, so you're kind of just by yourself, and I kind of enjoy that aspect because during that time it's just me and just focusing on that. So
if you get like industrial level machines, they're tens of thousands of dollars, but you could pick up a hobby level machine for like $150. You can find them used pretty easily for basically free with everything you get. So it's just something you kind of have to learn, right? You figure out how to do it, and then there's so many people that get frustrated, and that's how it started. I started out being like, okay, let me go help you, I'll fix it, and you can keep it, right? Because I think it's an important thing, decentralizing manufacturing. But a lot of people don't want to keep them or work on them, so I took them home, and I have a whole room full of 3D printers now.
So I have Guinness, he's 14, and then Sadie, Bentley, Henry, Scarlett, Lily, and Daisy. It's been a hard couple of years with the pandemic, but they definitely were like my rock and like my go-to. I just found comfort in life with them.
I love seeing when they grow. Like I have a money tree that its sprouts start so tiny and then it grows into this really large leafed, different sprouts of leaves. And so seeing it start off so tiny and then continue to grow is honestly really hopeful to see.
I love critiquing movies, and I got it from my dad. Even though he's not really a film person, we've watched movies forever, and I know that it has brought a lot of joy into my life. It was definitely a way of coping with being depressed. Sitting in a basement alone for multiple months at a time is very difficult, so getting to live in an alternate reality brings a lot of joy, and I think it was definitely a way for me to not only experience, joy of living through these fantasies, but also joy of having something in common with my dad.
Recently I've gotten into Genshin Impact, which is another open world game, kind of like Zelda, and you can collect different characters, so that's really fun. And then another one on the Switch is Hades. That one's so much fun. I like doing that one. It's a good way to kind of escape from the world for a little bit.
I made a lot of things. Most recently I just made a Terminator, I made a Predator. I brought with me from the movie. Mandalorian helmets seem to be pretty popular. So yeah, a lot of functional parts I need around the house and stuff too.
It gives me something to do, and I loved also, I would go to local plant shops and be able to support the local businesses, and it's just a really calming environment for me, just walking around, and there's so much green everywhere.
It was a school assignment. In the 2nd grade, we were assigned to go home and write 4 lines that rhymed. Yeah, I still remember it. At the beach, I like to play and find seashells that are stray. I build castles on the land with the golden sunlit sand.
I started playing basketball when I was in 9th grade, and unfortunately I didn't play competitively, so I use it just kind of as a fun way to play as a hobby. Before, I would say that it was something fun to do and something to go out and have fun with, but like I said, now it's a meditation thing and something that I've really focused a lot more on.
I started looking around at people my age, and I just realized that we're all pretty lost as a generation. So I started writing about stories that were just about people struggling through being 20s, having to go and change your life, trying to move because of opportunities are not in your town, things like that. So right now I'm gonna turn it into a collection of 6 or 7 stories, and it's called Dying in Your 20s, but I swear it's optimistic because I just view each thing like a bad breakup or having to move as a death. You change who you are and then you move forward from that.
I wrote a lot about isolation. I wrote a lot about pain. We also had a few funerals in our family. It led to a lot of perspective changes about how precious life is and about how it's really not promised. And as you can imagine, that gave me a lot to write about.
The pandemic has changed my perspective on joy because it's made me a lot less guilty about doing something that I enjoy that may not be productive. Life is short and you're gonna go through tough times, so you might as well do something you enjoy now and not stress about it.
It's really just brought a lot more joy in my life because I'm able to just focus on it specifically, and I don't know, it's just a lot of people can't really say anything about it or judge you on it, so it brings me happiness just being myself out there.
I think just the fact that they will always love you no matter who you are, who you are going to be.
I think it's helped me to understand joy as finding joy in the small things as opposed to looking for these big moments of joy, and just finding joy in seeing just a new sprout of a plant and being happy that you're seeing that life grow.
I actually donated one to my friend. They just started homeschooling their kids, and they were just looking for more things to do. One of their kids is had immunocompromised, so they wanted to keep him home with the pandemic, and they didn't know what else to do. They worked a whole lot, so they wanted something that they could kind of tinker with and do themselves. So it's just made me appreciate people that are more receiving and welcoming.
My biggest ambition is just finishing finishing this collection of short stories and seeing what happens. I really don't care if anything becomes successful. I just like writing for the sake of writing.
Every time we'd watch a movie or we'd do something, he'd be like, one day that's gonna be you. And it was just nice to know that no matter what, I had that support, and it's one of the reasons that I love what I do.
I guess it's important that we value life and joy during these hard times, and it's not something that I would say looked at before the pandemic, so it really made me enjoy life more. There's nothing more positive than the introduction of new life. It's been a joy so far. Only 12 days I've been with her, but it's been the best 12 days of my life, and I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. And even though the pandemic was going on, it was the best time of my life.